Eagles Entertainment.
With the 10th pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Philadelphia Eagles select.
You're listening to the Journey to the Draft podcast.
Welcome to the Journey to the Draft podcast presented by Life Brand. I'm your host, Fran Duffy, and day 2 of the draft is now behind us. The Eagles on day 2 have selected Alabama offensive lineman Landon Dickerson, as well as Louisiana Tech defensive tackle Milton Williams in rounds 2 and round 3, respectively. We're going to talk all about those guys in Draft Buzz. Ben Fennell, he's still out in Cleveland. Dane Brugler, he's all the way down in Dallas. I'm here in Philadelphia. We got together once again on Friday night to get you our thoughts on the Eagles' newest selections and how they fit this roster moving into the 2021 season. But first, if you're listening to this episode, chances are you're an Eagles fan. And if you're listening to this show for the first time and you think, oh, I'm just going to listen to learn more about the newest Eagles, then I'll unsubscribe next week. I'm telling you, don't do it. Because yes, over the next few days, I and others are going to help introduce you to the newest Eagles draft picks. If you stay subscribed to this show, though, you will be ready to form your own opinions on all of the players the Eagles add down the road, and even how to spot the diamonds in the rough yourselves. Remember, the Eagles could potentially have 3 first-round picks next year in 2022. Next year's lead up to the NFL draft is going to be awesome, and there is no better way to be the smartest person in your circle when it comes to getting ready for it, because no matter what time of year it is, the Journey to the Draft podcast is here to make you a smarter fan when it comes to the draft, player evaluation, team building, and just the sport of football in general. Over the next couple of weeks here on the show, we're going to be breaking down this class of players entering the league here in 2021. But after that, I'll start having conversations with former NFL scouts and general managers to talk about how to evaluate players and project them going from college to the NFL. In July, we start previewing next year's class, who you need to watch when college football starts up in September. And when the season kicks off, we are here every single week talking about who the standouts are, who's rising, who's falling, scouting reports, rumors, mock drafts, team building exercises, so much more. And all of that leads into the postseason. We're talking Shrine Bowl, Senior Bowl, Combine. You're going to be ready for all of those tentpole events leading all the way up to the main event next April. Just stay subscribed right here to the Journey to the Draft podcast presented by Life Brand. You'll get multiple shows a week. Let us take care of the rest. That being said, let's get this show rolling. We've got some news to get to. The Eagles have drafted Landon Dickerson and Milton Williams. We're here to talk about it now in Draft Buzz.
Now it's time for Draft Buzz.
All right, well, let's get into these picks here for the Eagles on day 2 as I welcome in my friends Dane Brugler and Ben Fennell. Guys, let's first talk about the Eagles' second-round pick, 37th overall, Alabama offensive lineman Landon Dickerson. And Ben, when I heard that this was the pick, you were the first person I thought of, because I thought back to all of the times this fall you would come back after watching all the film. We'd record our shows on Monday afternoon, and you would say, guys, I was watching Alabama again. And the double teams from Landon Dickerson and Deontay Brown just burying people and putting SEC defensive linemen on their backs every single week. You were the first person I thought of because I know how much you love Landon Dickerson.
Well, he just is a tone-setting presence. He brings an attitude, obviously a physical demeanor. It's a run-first offense in Alabama, and it started inside out, with big Dickerson and big Deontay Brown and Leatherwood and paving the way for Najee Harris and then opening things up for the RPO game. But the big speculation around Landon Dickerson was, what's his value if he wasn't injured? And he's a mid-first round pick all day long. But he unfortunately had the ACL tear, I believe, was in the Georgia game or the SEC championship game, if I'm not mistaken. But I think everything's on track. He does have an injury history going back to his Florida State days. But when he's healthy, when he's on the field, he makes his presence known. He's always one of the best players. Kind of an awkward size center to be so large at, kind of 6'5", 330 or whatever he is. But I think I like him a little bit better at the guard position. But his physical demeanor, particularly in the run game, particularly looking for work, just being nasty, playing to the echo of the echo of the echo of the whistle, always looking to kind of enforce his will against opponents. It's a grind to watch some of those big defensive tackles in the SEC just wear down late in games, particularly in the fourth quarter. That's what he brings. He brings a presence, an attitude, a physical demeanor. And if his knee is fine and all the medicals check out, which the three of us, we're not doctors, we're going to leave that stuff to the experts. All I do is watch the film, and it looks pretty good when he's on the field.
Dane, I know you were a big fan of Landon Dickerson as well. I believe he was in the back end of your first round in your last mock draft, I believe. This is a player that a lot of people that we know were very, very high on.
Yeah, and on my top 100 board, he was number 21 overall. And wow. I got a lot of questions like, well, you're higher on him than most. What about the injuries? And I think I had the same response every time. And I cannot quit Landon Dickerson. I can't. He is so much fun to watch. And yeah, credit to Ben. He was early on that train. And when I finally got around to sitting down and watching him, I bought in right away. He's the only offensive lineman in this draft who has at least one start at all 5 positions. He started the season opener for Florida State as a true freshman, the first guy to do that in over 30 years. Wow. There's so much to like about his pedigree, the character, and just going back to that ACL injury and watching his team rally around him, or the national title game when he got it on the last play in on the field after that ACL tear, just because he loves this so much. And so he's going to get beat up. His body's going to let him down at times, but the toughness is off the charts. The football character is amazing. And, the tape is really, really strong. I graded him as a better guard than center, but he has that versatility to play any of the interior line positions. He moves well. He's got power. He's got some flexibility. He's got Taekwondo in his background. So, there are a lot of things that have helped him become the player that he is. But he's the type of player that you love to play with, hate to play against, because he's got that bully mentality. He'll take a borderline cheap shot here and there just because he wants to get into the mind of opponents. So I'm a big Landon Dickerson fan. And if I'm an Eagles fan, I'm feeling great about this pick and the value.
I mean, honestly, the moment when he gets inserted into the game in the last few snaps of the national title, one of my favorite moments of the college football season, and obviously a unique season due to COVID-19. But when he's inserted in there with the torn ACL from just a couple of weeks prior, just to be on the field for those last couple snaps, I feel like that speaks so much to the respect that he has earned, not just from his teammates, but from his coaches. Like Nick Saban is not a guy to just do those kinds of things willy-nilly. I think that speaks very, very highly towards Landon Dickerson. And when we talk about that versatility, Ben, you and I talk about how important it is for young offensive linemen to have that background, to have that ability to, basically plug it where it leaks. If you need somebody to fill in at left guard, yeah, I can do it, coach. Hey, you need somebody right tackle this week at center, wherever it is, he's got that ability. So, while the Eagles have veterans on the roster right now that are certainly, set to start, I think you've got now a player that, can fill in wherever you need him to as we sit here today.
And it kind of reminds me of when we drafted Isaac Seumalo in the 3rd round of about 3, 4, 5 years ago. At this point, everybody thought he'd be the future center as a rookie. He played left tackle, left guard, right tackle, fullback, tight end, swing tackle. He was just plugging it where it leaks. And I think that's what Dickerson can do. And the other thing just about getting in that game, he just has an infectious, enthusiastic personality. Yep. Which is so strange because his on-field demeanor looks like he wants to, rip your head off. And just looking on the sideline, kind of pleading with Nick Saban to run in there, for that kneel down, or
it was awesome.
Whether it's doing a cartwheel behind Mac Jones's interview at his pro day. He just seems like that lovable goofball that's going to fit in great with Lane and Kelsey and some of those other really fun personalities. And one assignment for everybody listening here, Fran, go to Twitter. Go to Cole Kublik, a great analyst of football. Sure. Go to his Twitter account and just search Dickerson, because he was on a crusade every week of the college football season to highlight Landon Dickerson looking for work and just crushing defensive tackles. Don't put a lot of value in it. Just sit back and enjoy the entertainment of man-on-man physical football. It's a lot of fun to watch. And Cole was after it every week and seemed to find every crushing block from Dickerson. I can't wait to go back and look at them all.
Just lay back, just grab a drink, and just enjoy. Just let the plays soak over you. It's a really fun watch, a really fun player. Obviously, the injury concerns aside, this is a guy that obviously has a ton of ability moving forward into the NFL.
It's pretty quick off the ball, too. And you're playing space.
No
they pull him to the perimeter, and they had no problem working him in the screen game. So a guy that's 6'5", 330, looks kind of big and lumbering and probably a phone booth player, but he can get out in space too and crush some defensive backs and linebackers.
I think his intelligence is something that, we don't necessarily talk about enough. He on the field and off the field. He graduated cum laude from Alabama, and that translates to the field. You see him, the quick thinking adjustments, his awareness. He knows where those rushers are coming from. Head is always on a swivel. So his ability to break down the action, that football intelligence is remarkable. So I would go as far as to say he is the ideal type of guy you want. Toughness, football character. Obviously, the medical concerns are there. There's no way around it. And so if he can stay healthy, I wrote it in the final line of my report. If he stays healthy, he has an all-pro ceiling at the NFL level. He's just a really good player.
Hey, Dane, question for you. Do you ever see him struggle on the field? What's that one go-to tape in your mind that you said, you know what, this guy gave him problems, or maybe he didn't look so great in this game? Is there anything that stands out? The only thing I can think of is the big 6'6", 330 defensive tackle Jordan Davis at Georgia. Yeah. Occasionally knocked him back, and occasionally they had some stalemates. But I have a really hard time finding flaws in his tape.
There are times where you think maybe he abandons the fundamentals a little too early because he's going for that kill shot, or
That's a great point. Yeah,
there are times where just a little bit too early when he does that, but it's not a perpetual problem. The pad level can be a little inconsistent, especially for a center. It could be tough when those nose tackles can get underneath you. It's one. We don't see many 6'6" centers in the NFL. I mean, that's part of the reason why I think he's best at guard. But I mean, we're nitpicking at this point. Far more strengths to his game than weaknesses.
You guys remember that tape, him versus Derek Brown in 2019, the Alabama Auburn game? That is a fun watch as well. I'm pretty sure there are cut-ups of that online for people to go and find as well. So let's fast forward now to round 3, where the Eagles have their pick early in the round. They trade back a couple of slots with the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers move up. They take BYU offensive lineman Brady Christensen. The Eagles sit back. They've got a couple guys that go, and then they select Louisiana Tech defensive lineman Milton Williams. And guys, let me just let you know that I threw 2 fist pumps in the air when I found out that was the name. Really, really excited for Milton Williams.
When I finally told you to watch him and you finally got around to it, I mean, about time.
Yeah, it was he was a guy that I was really, really high on when I first watched, and had no idea obviously he was going to end up here in Philadelphia. But this is a player with just outstanding versatility. The athleticism, the explosiveness just pops off the film. Really violent hands. I compared him to former Eagles defensive tackle Malik Jackson because he had that position versatility when he came out of Tennessee a handful of years ago. And I feel like Milton Williams has that same kind of skill set. Inside, outside, disruptive, violent, explosive. Really, really excited about this edition, Ben.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember you first kind of putting me onto him and trying to figure out, do you play him inside? Do you play him outside? He's long. He's explosive. He's disruptive. He's strong. He's kind of relentless in his pursuit and his motor as well. He has a lot of traits to really get excited about. And I think a lot of his best football is ahead of him. Yeah. He's a guy that's only played 1,200 snaps in his college career, really just a 2-year player there at La Tech, and seems to be getting better exponentially each season. And I'd love to hear kind of, Fran, your trajectory on finding him or just being aware of his tape and then getting excited about him as a prospect, because you seem to have been one of the first to kind of bring him to the national spotlight through our podcasts and social media accounts and stuff. And everyone seemingly has been blown away ever since.
To me, like all that happened was the underclassmen list came out. And I'm like, all right, I've never seen this kid before. I've never heard of Milton Williams. He enters the draft. Louisiana Tech's, they're putting guys in the league every single year, especially on the defensive side. Last year, it was L'Jarius Sneed, who was a big time player for the Kansas City Chiefs. But we've seen them put players in the league every single year on defense. So I said, all right, let's plug this guy's film in. And he just blew me away. And what stood out to me is that, look, he had to shift inside to defensive tackle this past season in 2020. I think they had some opt-outs on the interior. They had a couple guys get hurt during the spring and summer. So he steps in, takes one for the team, plays inside at 265 pounds. Fast forward to a little bit later to January, he's up around 285, 290. And what he did at his pro day, running in the sub 4.65, jumping 38.5 inch, whatever it was in the vertical at that size, that athleticism, that explosiveness, that shows up on film. And again, a guy that can consistently change the line of scrimmage. He was a matchup player inside. He was tough to get a hand on. If for the interior offensive lineman, he was too big and powerful for those guys as well. Just a really, really fun player to watch. You talked about the motor as well, Ben. He stood out on tape. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. This was a guy that was really, really impressive.
Yeah, and it's really fun to just look at his kind of positional versatility, and he has reps in the A gap, the B gap, outside the tackle. He even has a couple in a off ball sense, which I'm looking at here at PFF's draft guide, which has 9 snaps not on the defensive line, which is a really interesting kind of usage. I'm assuming some sort of third down pressure package, probably just walking him around, but really interesting player. I think I saw some issues in the BYU game. David Moore at Grambling, I thought, got after him a little bit. They each kind of took their lumps in that heavyweight battle. But that was kind of iron sharpening iron. And I really think once he gets some more refined coaching and kind of figures out who he wants to be positionally, which I think he's going to be a pretty good 3-tech at this point. I think give him one spot. Let's, perfect that and then move from there.
Dane, where did you land on him?
Yeah, I was really impressed with the lateral range. He plays really well laterally. He's really slippery, which is impressive to watch. And so in the effort, I thought was consistent. He'll chase down plays, make plays away from the line of scrimmage. And then, you look at the testing numbers, it matches, exactly what he put on film. 6'3", 284 with a 4.63 40-yard dash. I mean, their receivers didn't run that fast. In the 3-cone was sub 7 seconds, 34 reps on the bench. Really, the only negative number from his pro day was their arm length, 31.5, which, you were hoping for a little bit longer than that. So Milton Williams is a really intriguing player. I have a question for you guys. What do you think his ideal playing weight is? Because I know in season, he was about 270, 275. Yep. Then he puts on weight. He's at 284 for the pro day. Do you think he's a 290 guy? Do you think he gets closer to 300? What do we think his ideal playing weight will be, assuming that he's going to be playing more in the interior as opposed to on the edge?
Ben, we just talked about this a couple of weeks ago over on the Eagle Eye in the Sky podcast about the guys that kind of undergo those position changes, right? And I think that sometimes, especially when it has to do with adding a lot of weight, sometimes it takes you a little bit of time to feel comfortable moving at that weight. And that's where, working with the guys that he's training with, he's been working out down at Exos over the course of this offseason. So getting ready down there, getting ready for this entire process. My guess is, with the way that he was able to move at 284, that's the thing, is like you could say, all right, did he put on weight and then he didn't test well? No, this guy put on a bunch of weight and then he went and he tested all those numbers you listed out, Dane. They were at least 90th percentile amongst all defensive tackles that have been drafted in the last decade. That 38.5-inch vert, better than any D tackle drafted since 2001 or 2011 rather. So this is a huge athletic testing profile. To me, he carries that weight well. My guess is, he's going to be playing in the mid to high 280s at the very least as a rookie. I'm excited to see what he looks like come the summer and into the fall.
Yeah, I'm thinking 5 or 10 more pounds of muscle, considering he put on some weight and was still showing pretty explosive movements at his pro day, as long as it's quality weight. And I'm actually looking at Eric Stokes' profile right now. They both jumped 38.5. Eric Stokes is 6 foot 194. Milton Williams had a faster 20-yard shuttle than Eric Stokes. Eric Stokes ran 4.36. Milton Williams, I have 4.33.
Eric Stokes is the first round pick, the corner from the Green Bay Packers,
who turned heads with his 4.2 40 and is an explosive type of corner and a first round caliber corner all day long and went to the Green Bay Packers. Milton Williams had a faster 20-yard shuttle at almost 100 pounds heavier. And I'm interested to kind of dig into some of those freaky explosives just to see who is that in comparison with. And probably next podcast, I'll have some other intriguing names and receivers and very athletic profile players to compare to, which is really fun to do.
All right. Well, we'll save that for early next week because I think we'll have plenty to discuss as we get together just to kind of talk through this entire class as a group. Guys, very generous with your time. Obviously, it's late here Friday night. We'll be back tomorrow to break down the Eagles' action on day 3. I think they've got 8 picks as we sit here right now. Excited to see what the Eagles can work up here in the final day of the 2021 NFL Draft. Guys, we'll talk to you tomorrow. So great stuff there, as expected, from both Ben and Dane. We'll be back tomorrow, as I said, right here on the Journey to the Draft podcast presented by Life Brand. We'll be talking all about the Eagles' Day 3 selections. We'll do all that tomorrow. And then we've got another episode coming in a couple days where myself, Ben, Dane, we're going to recap this entire Eagles draft class. We've got a lot coming over the next couple of weeks. Make sure you stay subscribed right here on this channel. Continued analysis of the 2021 NFL Draft right here on the Journey to the Draft podcast presented by Life Brand.
In just over 3 years, Eagles Autism Foundation has raised millions of dollars for autism research and care. But this is about so much more than just fundraising. This is about making a transformational difference in the lives of those affected by autism. This is about bringing our community together. With inclusive, sensory-friendly events and accessible resources, we meet families where they need us most and where we can serve them best. Together, we're united in our mission to improve the lives of the autism community and to turn awareness into action. It's what we focus on every day in every way.